So we've got the app up and running, and now we just want to take a little tour of what the application code looks like. What are you going to be working in? So there are plenty of files here, configuration files for some of the tools that we're using. You can pretty much just ignore all of those. Really, all you're going to be spending your time in is in the source directory. And in fact, even in the source directory, you're going to spend most of your time in the exercise directory. So this is where the markdown files are for the stuff you see here on the left. So you don't need to open up the markdown files for most of these workshops. The exercise file that you're going to be working in is in this 01.html and 05.js, so on and so forth. In fact, this first React Fundamentals workshop is a little bit unique because we actually do run in raw HTML files. And that's important because I want you to see that there's no tools required to using React to kind of help you draw lines around your abstractions. So we start out with just pure HTML files, and literally everything that you need is right here in this file. There's nothing else that runs, especially when you're on this isolated page. Like literally all that you see here is what's in the HTML file. So I can say, hello world. I save that and boom, it's right there. Okay, so that is basically like mostly what you're going to be working in is just in this exercise directory. You're going to go through each one of these. You make changes. You try to make your thing look like the final thing. And if you get totally stuck and you're like, I just don't know what to do, well, I wouldn't recommend banging your head against a wall for very long. The idea isn't necessarily that you finish these exercises. It's more that you open your mind to what's possible and what problems we're trying to solve. And then when you watch me go through the solution in the video, that will help you help things click for you because you've already kind of tried to deal with the problem. So if you get totally stuck, then don't worry about it. Just move on. But if you would like to just get a tiny little tip, then you can actually open up the final version and you can see how I solved it. Now, spoiler alerts, don't look at that for too long. But you can see in the final directory, we have the final version of the file as well as the final version of any extra credits. And that is a quick look at the files that we have in this project. Another thing that's important for your success in working through this is we have these friendly little emoji. And if you look at the README, we actually describe what these emoji are for right here. So we have Cody the koala, and actually I have Cody right here. This is Cody the koala. Say hi, Cody. Hi. And Cody the koala is just adorable, and Cody wants to help you be successful as you're working through this material. So Cody's job is to tell you when there's something that you're supposed to do. So there are like comments in here that are like sort of relevant to you, but you really just want to look around for Cody. And Cody's going to be like, here, right here, this spot is where you're going to be doing something. And you'll see Cody in every one of these files. Like right here, you need to do this thing. Now, you might think that Cody's a little bit hand-holdy, but and that might concern you, and you think, well, hold on a second. I thought I was supposed to be learning this stuff, and if Cody just tells me everything to do, then what do am I learning? I promise you that you are. Like I said, the idea is that you open your mind to the problem that we're trying to solve through each one of these exercises, and you tinker around with it a little bit, and then when you watch me go through it, then everything will click a lot easier for you because you've already sort of dealt with the problem. And then Marty the Money Bag is Cody's buddy, and Marty is actually even more hand-holdy than Cody is. Marty will give you very specific tips and sometimes even specific code that you're going to need to use. And the reason that Marty is there is because Marty understands what the objective of the exercise is, and he understands that if you spend so much time working through some like tangentially related problem, that it's going to detract from your learning experience. So Marty will give you code, will give you some strong tips, just so that you're not so distracted by the extra stuff that you forget to learn the specific thing that you're trying to learn. Now, there are a couple other emojis that you'll see throughout the workshop. So here we have Chuck the Checkered Flag, Matthew the Muscle. You can read through each one of these. You'll be interacting with Hannah 100 a lot. That's the extra credit emoji, just labeling the extra credits. Olivia the Owl will give you useful tidbits and best practices, that sort of thing. Dominic the Document is going to link you to documentation that I recommend that you read through or at least have some experience with. Barry the Bomb will hang out, and Barry's one of my favorites because he's the one who says, hey, you delete this code, just blow it up. because we're going to replace it with something entirely different. And Peter, the product manager, gives us kind of a storyline in some of the exercises. And then Alfred, the alert, will occasionally show up as you're working through some of the tests. So that is basically the exploration of the project. There's also the tests, which I'll talk about a little bit later. You're working in the source exercise directory in the specific exercise file. You'll find the markdown, which is rendered on the left side, right next to it, so you can reference it directly if you want to do it that way as well. And that is a quick look through the file structure of each one of our workshops.